Hello, everyone. I'm Sharon Chen with KCTV5 News. Welcome into another episode of Destination Heartland. Remember, these are our weekly virtual trips where we kind of explore those off the path hidden spots all around the region. So today we are headed west to eastern Kansas, about 3 hours out to where it's one of the most beautiful and picturesque areas here in the heartland. We're headed to the Flint Hills. And in the heart of the Flint Hills is the Tallgrass Prairie Nature Preserve. So right now I want to go ahead and bring in Tony Schneider. She's with the Chase County Chamber of Commerce. Hi, Tony. How are you today?
Hey, I'm great today.
And so we are talking about so many different things. There's so much in the Flint Hills, but what we want to focus on for a moment is the Tallgrass Prairie Nature Preserve. So tell us all about this highlight out there.
Yes, so it's the Tallgrass Prairie National Preserve. It is a national park.
Uh huh.
It was established in 1991, and the purpose of the park is to preserve the natural ecosystem of the Tallgrass Prairie.
And so when you talk about a national preserve, we're not talking just like a small area. This is a huge attraction in the region that people can go and explore. And there's lots to do there, too.
Yes, so there's more than 11,000 acres that encompasses the preserve, and there are more than 40 miles of hiking trails. There's the original ranch house that was built when the area was a working cattle ranch, and it is open for self-guided tours. They have 2 years ago they did a major renovation and upgrade. They went in and tried to recreate the like the wallpaper that was on the wall. They did
Wow.
studies from drawings and pictures and recreated what would have actually been the wallpaper on the wall in the 1800s, which is just the whole place is just fascinating.
Yeah, truly, it is. And I mean, you talk about, not only that aspect of it, but there's also a lot of different hiking trails that people can tackle out there too.
Right. Like I said, there's like more than 41 miles of hiking trail. There are hiking trails that are specifically just recently made handicap accessible. I haven't actually been there yet, but there's an area where if you have mobility issues or are even in a wheelchair, you can get out and follow a part of the path that goes through the Flint Hills. And then for if you have pets, you like to take your dog on a hike, there are specific trails, not all of the trails, because some of the trails go near the bison, and we don't want the dogs and the bison interacting. So there are some specific trails that are not near the bison that you can take your dog and be sure and keep him on a leash. Then, of course, they are hiking trails. Um, you can go as far as you want, or you can turn around. So you could walk out if you don't want just a real strenuous hike. Just walk out a little ways. You can still have a magnificent view of the Flint Hills. Or if you're a more adventurous hiker, you can hike as many miles as you want. You're welcome to get off of the hiking path. The paths are rock, and so you want to come prepared with the right kind of shoes. Keep in mind if it's the middle of the summer when it's 105, you might want to wear sunscreen. Of course, there's always bugs. So be prepared. If you're sensitive to bugs, be sure and bring your bug spray. Um, if maybe you don't want to hike in the heat of the day, the preserve is open 24 hours a day. And one of the drawing points of being way out here in the Flint Hills is the night sky. There's very little light pollution. So you can come out here and see the stars and stargaze, watch for the meteors. It's just a really cool thing to do.
And you touched on a point that, what the reason why I'm talking to you is about the Flint Hills is because our chief meteorologist here, Luke Doris, he went out there for kind of like a getaway, and he brought that exact point up. He said the stars were so beautiful and so bright out there, it's like you could reach out and touch them.
Yes, yes, it's magnificent. And right now, in the summertime, like it is right now, it does. It seems like the stars are. You can just reach out and touch them.
Oh, that's amazing. And you had talked about, the wildlife out there, the bison, and you actually just got a really cool update from the ranger out
Oh, I
there.
did. Yes, I did. So before I talked to you, I called out and talked to Heather, who's the head ranger out there. And I said, "Hey, what's new and exciting out there?" And she said, "Well, we have 23 baby bison."
Oh, baby bison. Oh my gosh. That has got to be a picture moment for sure. But we do have to mention that if you are out there, don't pet the bison, which seems like a common
Right.
sense thing to do here.
Yeah, you would think, but then you see the internet. But their suggestion is to keep a football field length. So imagine, going to the high school football game,
Mhm.
how far that is. Stay that far away from the bison because they can move so fast. You have no idea how fast these guys can go. And and if maybe you don't really want to be out in nature, they do have bus tours. They start early in the morning and run most of the day. So you could take a bus tour, and that'll get you close enough.
That is what lots of options, something for everyone out there for sure. And you
Yes.
spoke
Oh,
to. Mhm.
oh, I'm sorry. I
No, go
completely
ahead.
forgot the visitors center. So the visitors center also was recently revamped, and you can go there, and they have interactive. It's really cool. They have interactive things for the kids. They can pet the fur of a fox, or they can see what the roots of the plants look like underground. And so the visitors center is a must-stop destination to start.
Oh, that is so cool. And, we talked a little bit, just, this particular region in general is a true representation of what it's like in the heartland, life on the prairie, right?
Exactly. A lot of the area is still not developed, so you can drive down what we call it's called the Flint Hills National Scenic Byway, also designated by the federal government as a national scenic byway. It starts in Council Grove and goes all the way down to Cassidy. It's Kansas Highway 177, if you want to look on your map. And there are the Tallgrass Prairie National Preserve is along that. Um, the town of Cottonwood Falls is just a mile off, and you could stop and see the fabulous courthouse in Cottonwood Falls.
Which is right behind you there. That
Yep.
courthouse is so beautiful. But also, that area, too, there's so much history to it as well.
Exactly. And so one of the great places to start with the history is at the courthouse. It is the oldest continuously operating courthouse in the state of Kansas. The building of it started in 1871 and is completed in 1873. And so you're welcome to go down there for self-guided tours. And during business hours, if you happen to be in town on a Saturday, be sure and call my office because I can arrange for you to have a guided tour.
And that's so funny. That's perfect. And I mean, that's cool to tour that kind of history and get, real up close there. And with this history, there's also some stuff outside of the national park that we just talked about. Because you talked about the Flint Hills National Scenic Byway. There's also a lot of good places for camping and fishing too. Getting out there for the great outdoors.
Exactly. In fact, just outside of Cottonwood Falls, a couple miles to the west, is the Chase State Fishing Lake. We locals call it the County Lake. And you might have seen some images of the waterfalls. There is, the waterfalls are partially spring fed and also fed from the overflow from the from the lake. I'm sorry. And so right now they are spectacular. And again, All you got to do, you just hike across the dam and listen for the water, and you can go down to where the falls are. You can get in the falls if it's hot and cool off. There are camping sites there. They are primitive camping sites, and it's first come, first serve. We have camping. If you want a little more, you want electricity and water, we have a few camping spots just not very far from the courthouse in what's called Swope Park. Um, so you can camp there. Yeah.
Just
Oh,
a.
and
Mhm.
there's another one. I always forget it. It's called Bates Grove, and it is also primitive, but right there next to the falls that Cottonwood Falls are named for, which are different than the falls at the lake.
That is so neat. And I mean, the scenery out there has to be incredible. You spoke about the falls, and then we got the prairies. And there has to be really cool wildlife out there, too, beyond the bison, too, right?
Sure, especially if you go out to the county lake, what we call the county lake, the Chase State Fishing Lake. There's all sorts of opportunities to see the wildlife in their natural habitat.
Awesome. And so we still have so much to get into about the Flint Hills, but right now, what we want to do is just take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Destination Heartland. Today we are about 3 hours out from Kansas City touring the Flint Hills. And so I have with me Tony Schneider. She's with the Chase County Chamber of Commerce. And Tony, we spent so much time in that last 15 minutes talking about the Tallgrass Prairie National Preserve, which is kind of the highlight of the area. Now let's get into the county which the national park sits in, which is Chase County. So tell us a little bit about the history of Chase County.
Yeah, so Chase County, we call it the heart of the Flint Hills because it is right in the center of the Flint Hills. Um, the county, it's Cottonwood Falls is actually the county seat of Chase County. There's about 2,500 people that live in Chase County.
Oh, wow.
I know there's more cows than there are people.
And I'm sure with this rich history of the area, there's a lot of like museums and art galleries to explore there too, as well, right?
Of course, yes. So we have the Chase County Historical Museum, which has a magnificent, it's in two buildings and two floors, lots of history, artifacts from the beginning of the county's existence.
Mm-hmm.
So then behind the courthouse is a really cool little museum. It's called the Roniger Memorial Museum. And the Roniger brothers collected Indian artifacts from their farm here in Chase County. And so those are housed there. And then if you're more interested in the history of the ranching side of things, we have Pioneer Bluffs, which is south of Cottonwood Falls, closer to Matfield Green, and that is the Center for Ranching Heritage. And you're welcome to go out there. There's self-guided tours. They have QR codes on all the buildings. There's again a hiking trail down there, and you can learn more about the heritage and the ranching history in Chase County.
Yeah, because there is a lot of ranching history out there. Because you spoke a little bit about Spring Hill Mansion, which is kind of the start of the Tallgrass Prairie National Preserve, right?
Right. That was one of the parts of the National Preserve that we wanted to make sure and sustain or not let anything happen to, because it also is built in the same architectural style as the courthouse, and it was also built with the native limestone that is was quarried not very far from here. So it's a big part of Chase County history as well.
And that history is also reflected in the art there as well, because I can see that piece right behind you of the Chase County Courthouse.
Yes, that's a magnificent piece that was gifted to us by Joe Loganville, who has ties to the county. His family's farm was here in Chase County as well. And then more newer stuff, I guess you could say. I have a fabulous, fabulous place. It's an artist co-op. It's called Prairie Pastimes. It's here in Cottonwood Falls at the end of the Main Street, and all of the artisans there are from the Flint Hills area, and a lot of their artwork has the Flint Hills theme in it.
And so, beyond the museums, we always love to talk about my favorite part, which is the shopping and the dining, of course, which is available out there.
Yes, of course. And then there's music too.
Music,
When I mentioned,
yes.
yes. So I'm going to go back to Prairie Pastimes. Um, on the first and third Friday, there is live music. It's a jam session.
Oh.
We have local musicians come in, and we also invite musicians from other areas. So if you live in Kansas City area and you're a musician, come down and join us on the first and third Friday. Um, Depending on the weather and the theme of the evening. If it's nice, then we have it in the street again, right in front of the courthouse. And if the weather's a little persnickety, it is held down there at Prairie Pastimes or on the vintage country and rock and roll night when you need your electric guitars, then that's also held inside.
That sounds fun, for sure.
Yes,
Uh, yeah.
yes. But other shopping opportunities abound in Chase County. So we have antique stores that have magnificent pieces. We have boutiques that have the latest in fashion, as well as one of my favorite places to shop is the hardware store.
Uh,
It's called Clark Farm and Home, and it's over in Strong City. It's been there a very long time. You walk through the front door and you think you're stepping back in time. The hardwood floors, they have the paint markings on the floor that shows you, how many feet of tubing or cord or whatever you need. And then they have the cutest little section that just has unusual things.
oh,
Can I mean things that you don't think of, can openers, those little timers that you put on the refrigerator that used to be an egg timer,
hmm.
and they just have as well as anything hardware you could possibly need. And the great thing about that is you walk through the door, and the young man that owns the place, his name is Cade, and he'll ask you what you need, and he'll take you there, and he'll show you, and he'll help you find what you really need instead of wandering around the big box store thinking you're never going to find what you need. So there's
Well,
so much to do.
so much to do, and you got to love that small town feel too. It's kind of like you just walk in and they just kind of embrace you. You love that, especially here in the Midwest. It's kind of the highlight for sure. Um, you know, are there also staying here in the Midwest? I know that there's so many different events all around the different places, the different cities and counties. Is there
Yeah.
are there events in Chase County too that we want to know about?
Of course, these events. Um, we start off earlier in the spring. I have a dinner for 250 of my closest friends, and and you can be one of my friends if you'd like. Anyway,
Okay.
it is on the old bridge that used to connect the towns. It's now a pedestrian bridge, and it overlooks the falls that Cottonwood Falls are named for. And it's an outdoor event. I put up tents along the whole thing. We have a magnificent steak dinner and live music.
Wow.
That's always fun.
Yeah, you
Yes,
had me
and
at
then
steak.
when you have, yeah, I know, a steak, yeah, you can't really beat that. Um, of course, the history of the area also is tied into rodeo. We have one of the oldest rodeos in the state of Kansas as well, and that's in early June. We have a magnificent rodeo grounds that also hosts other events. One that I think is just the coolest thing. It's called mounted shooting.
Oh,
So it's people on horses with guns shooting at balloons. Okay,
Oh,
they're not real guns. I don't know the details. They're not really gun. They're not real guns, but it is an incredible feat of horsemanship and coordination. Just think about it.
yeah,
Just think about it.
seriously. I can only imagine.
I
And
know. And then in the fall, we have what we're going to call it the Cottonwood Music Fest. And we're going to have live music again. We have a lot of things down at the courthouse. Right in front of the courthouse, the stage will be set up. We're going to shut off the streets. There will be food vendors. There will be, did you know there's such thing as a boutique truck?
no,
Yeah.
really.
It is like the cutest little boutique, and it's in one of those trailers like the food trucks are. And they go around. So we're going to have boutique trucks right in front of our most favorite boutique right here in Cottonwood Falls. And then there will be food trucks. The music will be live. There'll be a large area for the public, general admission. You can have an adult cocktail if you'd like. And then there'll also be an area that'll be set up separately for VIPs. So if you'd like to sit in the VIP section and be a little closer to the music, have a dedicated place to eat and a dedicated bar to get your libations, you can also do that.
Very nice. And, there is so much to do in this area, just speaking of the National Preserve alone, but there's so much to explore all around there, which, you have detailed out for us so well. The main question, of course, is if we were to visit the Flint Hills, what is the best time?
Anytime. There is no such thing as a bad time to come to the Flint Hills. It doesn't matter if it's in the spring, when, of course, the traditional time for visiting the Flint Hills is because the grass is so incredibly green. But throughout the summer, the grass changes colors. There are different flowers that bloom
Wow.
during different seasons of the year. And then some of my favorite time is the winter because the grass is just this beautiful golden bronze color. And and of course if you're going to come, you got to have a place to stay. So I have more than 20 different options for lodging. Some are kind of unique
Uh huh.
and some are a little more traditional. I have the Grand Central Hotel and Grill, which all of their rooms are themed after local ranches. So you can stay in the Stout Ranch room.
Wow.
And then I have guest houses. I have guest houses. And they are many, many, in fact, almost all of them are older houses that have been renovated and restored. So you're again staying in a piece of history. One of my favorite places to stay is the railroad came through here, and before the advent of motorized vehicles so much, there was trains, and they had to have a place for the train workers that were working on the rails to stay. And so they had what were called, they were bunkhouses, basically 4 or 5 little rooms where the workers that worked on the railroad, and there were several, just a few miles and you'd have another one. Well, almost all of them are gone because
Wow.
they were obsolete. But Bill McBride saved one, and he has turned it into a guest house. And there are little rooms, and you sit right there next to the railroad track, and you think, oh, I wouldn't want to do. It is magnificent because the train, it rumbles by. It doesn't roar by, it just rumbles by, so you can stop and look out and see the train going by. And then in again the night sky, there's no light pollution out there at Bill's place, so you can sit on the patio and watch the night sky.
Oh, that sounds so awesome. And especially the experience of staying in the hotel with the train rumbling by. That's unique in itself, for sure. So let's, staying on the topic of stays, how long should people kind of plan a stay for if they were to visit out in the Flint Hills?
Well, we hope that once you're here, you'll never want to leave, and you'll become one of us. But definitely, I mean, I would love for people to come and stay a week. come on a Friday and leave on a Friday. I don't know. It, it's what you can do, but if you can't, like you said, it's not that far. It's only an hour from Wichita, hour and a half, couple hours from Kansas City. You just jump on the highway, and before you know it, you're here. So come for a day, come for a week.
Well, and it sounds like one of those places that, maybe you don't want to take it in all at once because just come back because there's so much that you can keep coming back for more.
And that's what I tell people about Chase County is don't come here to do. Go here, go there, go here, see that. Just come and relax. Take a breath and enjoy.
Yeah, because it sounds like it's just the perfect getaway from, the hustle and bustle just to get out there and just kind of unwind, right?
Yes, definitely.
And so, is there anything else we should know about Chase County and the National Preserve?
Well, most importantly, you need to go to my website, the heart of the Flint Hills.com, and you can learn more about what there is to do in Chase County. And on that website, you'll have the opportunity to see the latest and greatest Chase County Living magazine in digital form.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Tony, for this episode of Destination Heartland. And we'll have to get out there to the Flint Hills and start doing all the checking off the to do list, right?
Yes, exactly. Come see us.
All right, thanks. And that does it for another episode of Destination Heartland. Remember, a new episode drops every Tuesday, and you can find it here on KCTV5 Plus. So, until our next adventure, I'm Sharon Chen for KCTV5 News.